All right, all right. Yo, yo. This is a prelude to today's interview. My name is BradQuan. I am your host of Weirdinary. And today I have my Uncle Lonnie. And today we're going to interview Ernest Henry out in Poughkeepsie. But before we go ahead and make the trip out there, I wanted to give my Uncle Lonnie the opportunity to really highlight Ernest Henry because he's the reason why I had the interview. Please go ahead and paint the picture of the man based on your experience with him, please.
This man overcame a lot of obstacles, and he's big in the community. He took me around a lot of people. You know, I met a lot of good people through him because of who he is. And like I said, I mean, I can't even, like, words don't even explain the amount of to the like the magnitude of this guy. He's a very, very close friend, very, very good person, very, very important person. And like I said, he's good in the community. He's all for the community. He's for the kids. He loves the re-entry program, guys in jail. He helps them get out of jail. He helped them find jobs when they come home from jail. He does a lot in the community. He was a great inspiration for my life and helped me overcome a lot of my obstacles that let me know that there's nothing I'm dealing with that I can't overcome.
Damn. That's what's up, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you setting the stage. I know he'll appreciate this. Yo, yo. Welcome to another episode of Weirdinary. I am your host, BradQuan, and today I have a very special guest. He is a former inmate at Sing Sing Correctional Facility for second-degree murder and has shattered the expectations placed upon ex-cons, and particularly black men, by dedicating his life to community advocacy, public service, and the pursuit of second chances. He has since become the first ward common councilman for the city of Poughkeepsie, executive director in the re-entry field and architect of the Grace Academy model, host of Voices Beyond the Wall on 91.3 WVKR-FM, amplifying the voices of the incarcerated and formerly incarcerated since 2009. He's been recognized on the floor of the New York State Assembly in 2018 for a decade of public service. He holds a Bachelor's of Science in Organizational Management and a Master's degree in Professional Studies. He is a former adjunct professor at Marist College where he taught corrections, a former board member of Rising Hope, Inc., helping expand college education for those incarcerated. He's a champion of humanity through the lens of verity, a mentor to the youth, and most importantly, an honorable husband and an admirable man. Ladies and gentlemen, Ernest Henry. Brother.
How you doing?
How you doing, man?
All right, good.
Absolutely, man. First off, let me just thank you for taking the time to sit down with me, man. It goes without saying that you're a very busy man. You know what I mean? I had to practice this. You know what I'm saying? to make sure that I got off everything smoothly, man. Because you got a hell of a resume, man.
Thank you.
And like I said, man, I'm starting off. I'm trying to make a name for myself. You're somebody that has made a name for yourself through the trials and tribulations of life, man. And it means the world to me to be able to sit here in your presence. My Uncle Lonnie speaks so highly of you, man. And, I'm not going to front. I feel like I'm sitting at the table with greatness right now.
You just sitting at the table with somebody that makes good decisions.
That's what's up.
I would say that.
So, that said, I want to start from the beginning, and we'll work our way up, all right?
Okay, fair enough.
My first question to you, brother. When you think back to your childhood, what part of your spirit was left unmet?
What part of my spirit was left unmet? It's an interesting question. I really can't describe what was left unmet. Like so many black men, I grew up in a household with my mother, my grandmother. I grew up with females. My mother and father, they were married. When I was 6 years old, he went to Vietnam, and my mother had found out that he had kids on the other side of town, and that was the end of the relationship. So I would say that one part is that I didn't have a strong male figure growing up.
Okay.
And that's a commonality with black men, unfortunately. Other than that, in retrospect, I could say that I didn't know myself. I didn't know who I was as a black man, and I don't think that my mother and grandmother knew who they were as black people. And when I say that, I'm a big proponent of black people having knowledge of self.
Yes, sir.
When I say knowledge of self, I'm talking about the origins of black people, not in slavery, but beyond slavery.
Okay.
And I don't think that my grandmother and my mother knew that. I don't think that they knew who they were as black people. So if I could answer that question right off the bat, that I was never asked, I would say that that was one of the things that wasn't something that was fulfilling in my spirit as a young man growing up.
Okay. That's actually a beautiful segue into my next question for you. How did growing up without your father shape the way you came to understand masculinity as a black man in America?
Growing up without a father, it was difficult. It was just like whatever you saw out there that had some bells and whistles on it, like other men, you people in the street, hustlers, people who got money, people who were respected in the community but didn't really have real respect in the general scheme of society. That was my growing up. I really don't think that I had good role models when I was growing up.
So masculinity to you was just a man that was out here getting it, like
Right.
you know what I mean, the money, the cars.
Masculinity to me was, I would say, a blank chalkboard.
Okay.
I had to build on it. I was fortunate enough to go to an all-black college once I graduated high school.
I remember, yeah.
And in retrospect, I say that I never knew about black masculinity until I went to prison, which is crazy.
Yeah, I peeped that in your last interview.
You know,
I found that.
I just, I went to an all-boys school. I went to DeWitt Clinton High School in the Bronx. And in DeWitt Clinton High School in the Bronx, I was around other young black men struggling to find what their identity was. Some of them found it in drugs, some of them found it in violence, some of them found it in trying to get ahead the right way. But all of that was a jumbo mix when I was growing up. But I can honestly say that I never understood real black masculinity until I got to the penitentiary and I saw strong black men enduring the subjugation of prison. And to me, that's so unfortunate, because I think of all of the young men out here that had to see and build on the same things that I did. And I understand why they make poor decisions, And that's one of the reasons why I'm so adamant about being somebody that people could look up to, particularly young black men, establishing manhood in myself, because we can't talk about manhood to other people until we have it in ourselves, until we really understand it, and then we exemplify it in our behavior, and people see that, they bear witness to that.
Absolutely.
You
saying that? So first off, you're from the Bronx.
My parents lived in the Bronx, in Mitchellhausen, and then we moved to Harlem, Spanish Harlem, on First and First Avenue.
Okay.
So I got a mix of both. So I rep Harlem.
Okay. All right. So just to kind of build on what you said about learning about black masculinity more so in prison, what you went to an all-black college. What did the education system lack that the prison system fulfilled?
I think that the most clearest answer I could give to that is that the educational system is a system that black people really don't have a big say-so in. So the educational system that we have in America is still premised on white supremacy.
Okay.
And white supremacy does not allow black people to dive deep into who they are as black people. When we look at education, in America, in most cases, the black history starts at slavery, where we know that it doesn't start there. It starts way beyond that.
We don't learn that we were kings.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't learn that we were kings. We don't learn that we were warriors. We don't learn that we were wise men. We don't learn any of those things. We learn that we were niggas.
Yeah.
And the educational system reflects that sentiment. So I went to an all-black college, and I seen the pictures of Marcus Garvey and Martin Luther King, and some of the buildings were named after them. But the core message, the real core message of what it means to be black was lacking there. And I always say, I said, man, I went to an all-black college, and I learned more about my black history in prison than I did at that college. And that's a problem. Damn.
You think the education system sets the youth up to be free thinkers, or does it set them up to fall in line?
I think that the educational system, just like the religion, law, and all of these other institutions, they set black people up to keep their secondary status that was already established when the framers framed the Constitution. Nothing has really changed. The only thing that's changed is the game. And the real thing is white supremacy. And I don't consider myself a racist, because I don't think that all white people are bad. But I know that the people who make the decisions that govern this country, they are basing all of their decisions on white supremacy to keep things as they are, right? And if we as black people believe that a system that's constructed on that premise will in any way get us ahead, particularly in the educational system, then we're just fooling ourselves. And the proof is already in all of these educational systems that we have around the world, around the country, where young black people are not doing well. It's a reason for that. It's systematic. It's not just by chance. These things are systematic. And when I say that, I don't blame the system on the life that I lived when I was younger, but I understand how it was relevant to it.
Okay. You touched a bit on religion. Let me ask, are you a religious man?
I'm a spiritual man. I think that we are all connected, black, white, Chinese, red, whatever. I think that we are all connected to one common energy. You can call that energy God, Allah, Yahweh, whatever. I think that we are all connected. The problem is just like in the Bible, in that story in Genesis, the Tower of Babel, we have all been conditioned to think that we're all different. And we're not all different. We're all the same. But as long as we think that we're different, then those who have the system, this white supremacist system that I'm talking about, we can always look at each other as different. And when we look at each other as different, then we find ways to come against each other. And that's a big problem. That's the problem that we're dealing with right now. So, and religion plays a big part of that. religion was essential in the slave trade.
Elaborate on that for me.
Okay. When the missionaries went into Africa, they sent their religious. They said, no, this is Christianity. Once they took over an area, then what they did, they promoted Christianity. Once the Africans were brought to North America, they were not allowed to practice their own religion. The only religion that they were allowed to practice was Christianity, which was interpreted by a culture, a system that was based on white supremacy. So they had to do that because slavery had to be justified through these institutions, and religion was one of the main institutions that slavery had to be justified in. You couldn't have slavery and have people say that God is good and I'm good like God, and then take away the total identity of a whole group of people. So religion was instrumental in the, how can I say it, in the promotion of slavery. A big part of it.
So like you, I consider myself a man of faith as opposed to a man of religion. What do you believe the difference is between being religious and being faithful?
Being religious is a religious construct that somebody else made for you. Right?
Yes, sir.
Being spiritual is understanding that you have a connection, you have a personal connection to that energy that's a higher being, that's God. You can call it anything you want.
Yes.
And understanding that we're all a part of this. Every single one of us. And when we do something wrong to one of them, then we're doing something wrong to us.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the total connection there.
Absolutely.
That's what I see as spirituality. And the most basic way that I could explain this is that religion has made that spirituality, that concept of spirituality that I just defined, something that doesn't make sense. Okay. Because as long as we have an institution, as long as we have a group of people that says, this is what religion is, this is who God is, this is what God does, this is who God favors. We got to understand that the Bible was compiled by people who chose certain aspects of these books of wisdom, and they put them together as a Bible. There's so many other books out there that were written the same time that say something totally different that we know nothing about. One of the fortunate things that I was able to experience was going to New York Theological Seminary. Okay. New York Theological Seminary is a master's degree program that is given at Sing Sing Correctional Facility, yes. Right? And it's based on liberation theology, yes. Which is theology for the poor and the outcasts. Okay. So I had the pleasure, I had the honor of looking at religion, not just as a religion, but as an academic viewpoint of it.
Okay. Man, I like that, man. It's just wild to think to me that the prison system can do more for you educationally than the.
Nah, and that's a misnomer. The prison system can't do anything for you but create opportunities, just like anything else. Everything depends on the individual. Everything depends on the man who makes a choice. See, that's one of the greatest things that we have as human beings. We have the choice to do right, or we have the choice to do wrong.
Yes, sir.
Because I believe that the same power that we talk about as God is in us.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
the same power that's in God, God is positive, negative, light, dark. God is those two things. And those two things are the only two things that exist. Right? This way or that way. So those two things are in us. And each one of us has the right, we have the ability, we have the power to go left or right. It's just a matter of what we're thinking.
I love the fact that you brought that up, man. You know, and I wanna dig into your home life a little bit more. Being that you were raised by two women, your mother and grandmother were your earliest experiences of womanhood and love.
Right.
Looking back, what emotional needs did those relationships fulfill, and what needs remained unanswered as you entered adulthood?
I think the most important thing was I don't think that my mother and my grandmother understood how to raise a young man, which is basic. But I also think that they were so busy providing for my brother, sister, and I that they didn't give us the love and attention that we needed to bring us to a certain emotional state of being as human beings. My mother and my grandmother, they worked. My grandmother worked in the daytime. My mother worked at nighttime. They both worked at Bellevue Hospital. My mother was a nurse's aide. My grandmother was a dietitian, right? So when my grandmother came home, she was there for us for school. You know what I'm saying? And then when my mother went to work, my grandmother held us down. So that was that. It was just a matter of survival. These women, they understood the importance of family, unlike certain men who didn't. They understood that they had to hold the children down, and they did that. And I look at my grandmother and my mother, and I know that they sacrificed everything so that we could live, so that we could exist, so that we could grow.
That said, could you provide me with an example of something you believe they could have done better to help mold your manhood and essentially your perception of the opposite sex?
I can't think of anything that they could have done better. I mean, I was convicted of murdering my ex-girlfriend.
Okay.
Right? I've never hit a woman before or after that. You know, so I don't have a inclination to be brutal to women or anything. Matter of fact, I'm on my second marriage, and my first wife is probably one of my other best friends. So I don't see anything that my mother and my grandmother could have told me or taught me to deal better with the opposite sex. I think that it was just a matter of experience. You know, I went to an all-boys school. And when I went to an all-boys school, DeWitt Clinton High School, then I went to college. And from college, I came home and I was arrested. So I didn't really have a whole bunch of time in the male-female interaction field. So, you know, I can't see anything that they did. They loved me. I know they loved me. They looked out for me. They weren't abusive. None of that. I mean, I can't think of anything that was. I never not had anything. My sister and brother and I, we never not had anything.
Understood.
You know, there were strict rules. Yo, you're not gonna be out there with them other people. You're gonna come up here at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, I was in the house.
Yeah,
with my sister.
Reminds me of my
You know what I'm
childhood.
saying?
Absolutely.
And school, going to college, was the one thing that they told me and my sister and my brother that we had to do. They told me so much that we had to go to college that I wound up in college and didn't even know why the hell I was there. I went to Cheney State College, and next thing I know, I graduated high school, And the next thing I know, I'm in college, I'm in Cheney State College, and I didn't know why I was there. But I did know that that's what my parents,
That's what they wanted.
that's what they wanted. So I was being a good child and following the rules. And I wound up in college. I didn't know why I was here. And I think that that was one of the blind spots that I always think about, because they didn't prepare me for that which they wanted me to do. And I always think about it that they didn't know. They didn't go to college, so they didn't know why. But but at minimum, they understood that that was something that was going to get me ahead in life.
You feel like you were sheltered?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But that's what people do that love you. That's what parents do that love you. They shelter you. They want to protect you from the things that inevitably you're going to have to face. Yeah. You know? And they probably just didn't know how to equip me for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how. I'm not sure anybody really knows how to do that, man. So you brought up the case, actually, why you went to prison. Mm-hmm. I want to ask you, because I did research on you. It's you know what I mean. It's imperative. Would you mind diving into that briefly?
Which part?
Okay, so in September 23rd of 1983, that was the date of the murder, correct?
Right.
All right, so from what I read, and correct me if anything is wrong, you can only trust the internet but so much, right? You're engaged, the two of you were engaged.
Right.
And the engagement ended.
Right.
It said you waited outside of her job hoping to reconcile. You were rejected. Then you went into the car during the confrontation, struck her twice in the head with a mop handle, and then you put her in the trunk of the car, drove to Fort Lee, New Jersey, abandoned the vehicle, returned the next morning and set the car on fire. Right. Let me ask you, how long were you guys engaged for?
Probably a year and a half.
Year and a half?
Yeah.
So let me ask you, and I'm asking you, brother, because I understand the pain of rejection, right? Like me growing up, I was the center of my parents' world, especially my mother. Mm-hmm. So when you grow up and when you get into a relationship and you realize that reality is a falsity, this woman does not have to make you the center of her world, which means if she doesn't want to be with you, right, it is what it is. Right. Was that the first time you really felt rejection, when she didn't want to reconcile with you? Mm. Now, I guess if I can...
No, from a woman?
Not the first time you felt rejection. I guess what led to the ending of the engagement?
She wanted space, and that was that. What was the impetus of this is that I have found out that she had aborted my child.
Oh, shit.
Right? Okay. And she didn't tell me. That was a big factor to all of this. Like I said, I'm not a violent person. And I really can't even identify with that person, that 22-year-old man or that 22-year-old boy 42 years ago. I really can't. I can't fathom what he was thinking about. The only thing that I could really fathom right now was the anger that promoted that. And, I really feel bad about what I had done. I really do. And that is one of the reasons that I have committed my life, to helping other people inside prison and when they come out. Because redemption is not just saying that you're sorry that you did something, it's taking some action towards it. And I understand that when judgment time comes, I'm going to have that smear on my soul that I took a life. But what I would like to have, I would like to also have some other things on my soul that I've helped, so that perhaps, maybe, things will balance out. You know?
I love that. Let me ask you, man. I've never been in a situation where I've gotten a woman pregnant. I mean, hell, I hope I have kids someday. Do you have children?
I have a child.
When you found out, how did you find out that she had the abortion? Did it just kind of, did you find paperwork? Did she...
No, she told me. She told me in the heat of argument. This was part of the rejection.
God damn.
And the child that I have, Juanita, she's 42 years old now. This was a prior relationship that I had. I have a grown daughter now with grandkids, you know. And when I went to prison, she was 1 year old.
Wow.
And when I came out, she was 25 years old and getting married. And for the past, going on 19 years, her and I have built a strong relationship that's like a solid bond. You know, I see her, I speak to her every day, we text every day. A matter of fact, we're getting ready to go to a family reunion next month, September rather. But she had to live with that, and I feel bad about that. And the only thing that I could do with regards to her is to be the best example of a man that she could say, that's my father, you know?
Did you guys ever speak about how her knowledge of, I'm not sure exactly when she found out about it.
Well, she found out when she was growing up. You know, her mother probably said something. She probably read something. And we did talk about it.
How was that conversation?
It was, my daughter Juanita is not like the emotional type. She likes to keep her stuff close to her chest. But we talked about it.
Cool and collected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she doesn't want to get into emotional things. She doesn't like to cry. She none of that. So we talked about it, and you know, I told her, I said, you know, it had nothing to do with you. It had everything to do with my poor decisions, you know, my poor actions, you know, how messed up I was at that time. Didn't have anything to do with you. And I'm sorry that, you know, that affected your life, because when she was growing up, she had to tell people, my father's in the service. You know, she had to grow up with not having that father and not having a reason why he's not there that she could actually speak on. So that was something that she had to go through.
All right, so using that as a segue to dive back into your upbringing, as a teenager, what emotions did you have the hardest time expressing, and what did you usually do with them instead?
I think I was more introverted, you know, because I was my best friend, you know. I was the one that I talked to because I didn't have any other man to talk to. I had my mother, my grandmother, and then I had my sister and my younger brother, so.
Were you the middle child?
I'm the oldest.
Oh, you're the oldest.
Right.
Explain that. Explain that role to me.
It was a big responsibility, a responsibility that I had no knowledge of. You know, I was the oldest. I didn't know how what I had done affected my entire family. I didn't know how it affected my sister, who was a year younger than me, who when she passed away, there was a letter that she wrote me that she didn't send me, and she was expressing how difficult it was for her to know how to make choices as a young woman with me not being there. So that crushed me because I didn't know anything about that. I knew about my my daughter and what she had to go through because she was there to talk about it. My sister never talked about it. I just found a letter. My younger brother, he got into drugs. Not drugs, he got into selling drugs. He was a big-time drug dealer in Harlem, and he was killed. So I carry that burden of guilt with me because I feel like If I was home, maybe he wouldn't have got into that. And then I think of on the other side, maybe if I was home, maybe I would have got into that with him. You know, so I have no idea how things could have been, but I think about what might have been if I had not gone to prison, if I had not done that.
You said something interesting to me in the interview I checked out of yours, The Taste of Transformation, that you found out that your brother was killed when you were locked up.
Right.
And you thought about wanting to kill the people that killed him.
Yep.
But then you realized to yourself, you're like, yo, I'm in here for murder.
Right.
And now I understand how her family felt
Right.
when I took her life.
Right. But see, you know, there has to be, you know, a lot of people talk about redemption and they changed and all of this other stuff, but there has to be an impetus of change. There has to be some place, some situation where a person realizes that the light goes on and he realizes that, yo, this here is wrong and something has to be done with it so that you can continue to go on with your life the right way. And to me, when my brother was murdered, that was the impetus of change for me. That was like in 1993. So I was in prison for 1993, 1994. I was in prison for about 9 years. 9 years just surviving prison, not thinking about what I'd done while I was there. I'm just surviving. But when that happened, that was the impetus of change for me. Because then when I got that news, the first thing that I wanted to do, I wanted to go out there and get those dudes. But then I thought about it. I'm like, yo, now I know how the Reed family felt. I could feel the pain and I could bear witness to how it affected their family because that's how it affected my family. And I didn't like that. So I really had to, that was really a turning point for me. And I can go back to that and really look at the things that I was doing while I was in prison and my whole perspective and everything that I was doing in prison then just went 180. I started to go to programs. I got involved with positive programs. Everything that people who were really trying to rehabilitate themselves were doing, I was doing it. You know?
Would you call that situation, would you call your brother being killed after you committed the murder, would you consider that karma?
Some people might call it karma. Some people may call it that, but when you look at karma, it has negative overtones. You did this wrong, so this wrong comes to you. I don't look at that as karma. I look at that as God saying, now it's your time to make a choice.
And that's kind of what I'm saying, because there's a positive within every negative, right?
Right.
It has the negative overtone because of how we perceive it, but it's possible that that's what it took for you to understand, yo, like, I need to do this a different way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because just going through just the basic survival of prison isn't doing it, obviously.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's possible that, like, you needed to overcome that hurdle. I think I believe in necessary evil. I believe pain is necessary for growth. Like, it's hard to see in the moment how that on the other side of this shit is beauty. You know what I mean? But you gotta push the damn boulder up the hill.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't, it's hard to tell yourself that in the moment, man. And I guess what I want to get into before we move forward, the survival in prison. Being 22 years old, your cortex isn't fully developed yet. You're still a child in so many ways. Put me in your shoes, man. Because, I mean, at 22 years old, shit, I was probably still 16, 17 in the head. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure what it was for you, but can you kind of walk me through surviving Sing Sing? Feel
Well,
that.
I had a lot of time to think about, you know, the whole going to prison. I was probably the least likely person that anybody that knew me in my community would be considered somebody that's going to prison. The least likely guy. I'm pretty sure you did your research. I was gainfully employed as a bank teller. I was going to college, night school. I was in my 3rd year of college. I was the least likely guy that anyone would think that would wind up in prison. When they said, well, who in your neighborhood would you think would go to prison? Ernest Henry would not be on that list. He wouldn't even be thought about because I was the guy that was doing the right thing. Because I would never be the man that I am now had I not taken the journey that I had. I would never be that man. I believe that I would just be a selfish motherfucker that was out for myself, that just thought everybody else was fucked up. You know, that's what I think that would have happened. It wasn't until I went to prison and I was in that humbling position that I understood that, listen, all of my lessons came because I was subjugated in prison. All of my lessons. And you say, how does a 22-year-old person, young black man, who has never been in prison, who was always doing the right thing, how does he wind up in prison and how does he survive?
That shit make you cry?
The only thing that really makes sense is that I believe in fate, and I believe that we all are here for a purpose. We don't just come down and be fodder for people and our society. We all have a particular purpose that we come down to earth for. And I seriously believe that one way or another, I had to go to the penitentiary. And it's just unfortunate that I had to go that way. But one way or another, I had to experience that. And when I went to prison, I just felt like I was, like angels guiding me all through all through the process. I believe that angels guided me all through that. I got this case in Nassau County, Dutchess County Jail. I get sentenced to 20 years of life. And the day that I got sentenced and I'm getting ready to go upstate, this brother, I didn't even know him. I didn't even know that he was watching me and nothing. He just came up to me. His name was Lord Intelligence. I'll never forget him. He's like, yo, you and you're gonna be in the 5% nation. I didn't know what the 5% nation was. And it was another young brother. He had just got 15 to life for killing somebody. And apparently Lord Intelligence was watching us and he basically recruited us right at the Dutchess County Jail. And I always look at that like God or my mother, some spirit, some ancestor was like, yo, I'm gonna protect you through this. And I didn't know anything about prison. I didn't know anything about prison. Only thing I knew about prison is that if somebody did something to me, they was gonna have a wildcat on their hand. I already made that pledge.
Yeah,
but,
I figured. I was wondering, like, were you tested at any point, or were you like?
Well, I'm gonna explain why that didn't happen. So at the Dutchess County Jail, I'm recruited into the 5% Nation. The first stop, downstate, you get your greens and you get your number and everything. Then you go to Sing Sing, right? When I got to Sing Sing, I was in the 5% Nation. Now, in the 80s, there was only two very strong groups in prison. One of them was the Muslims.
Yeah.
The other ones was the 5%.
Okay.
We had the biggest groups in New York State prison. And it didn't matter where you went in New York State prison. If you went to Sing Sing, if you went to Attica, you went to someplace else, there were people in the 5% nation there. So I, unbeknownst to me, was recruited into a brotherhood that had each other's back.
Okay.
So just imagine I go to Sing Sing Correctional Facility and they say, you're in a 5% nation. We got culture classes. It's going to teach you about your culture. We're going to introduce you to the brothers that's here. They've been here for a long time. A lot of the brothers, when I went to the penitentiary, a lot of them were former Black Panther members, BLA, or all of these revolutionary movements where they had put men in prison. That's who were there. They were running the groups, and they were teaching the young Black men how to be men. That's where I got my concept of what it means to be a Black man. Right there, from them brothers there. From 22 years old, I was taught. And I would say that was the greatest lessons that I had. You get there, they say, you ain't gonna be messing with no drugs, you're not gonna be messing with homosexuality, you're not gonna do this, you're not gonna do that. We had rules, and if you broke the rules, then you got your ass kicked. It was simple as that. So I went into the New York State prison system with a whole brotherhood, with a whole discipline that carried me through, that I live today. I live those tenets today as a Black man. I know what it means to be a Black man, and I know what it means as my responsibility to other Black men, Black people.
Yeah.
And that was the greatest lesson that I ever had in my life, because it set the foundation to who I became as a man. There was some knucklehead 5%, but I always strayed away from them. I was always directed to people who were doing the right thing and doing the good thing. Maybe I wasn't directed to them, maybe I was attracted to them because I knew what was right and what was wrong. But I say that to answer your question, how did you get through this? That's how Ernest Henry got through that. Vulnerability is something that it comes with maturity. You know, you got and knowing who you are. You know, as long as you don't know who you are, as long as you are continuing to put forth some type of image to everybody else, then you can't be vulnerable, because you're on stage, you acting. Mm-hmm. Vulnerability has nothing to do with acting.
That's raw. Looking back now, what beliefs about manhood were quietly shaping the way you responded to rejection, vulnerability, and emotional pain?
Looking back on that, it's like the lesson that I learned is the most important person that I should be concerned about, that I should love, that should be the most important person that I should get my guidance from is me, not nobody else. Nobody else could give me happiness. Nobody else could make me happy. Nobody else could reject me, because I am who I am and what I am. And as long as I'm good with that, then rejection has no power over me. It just doesn't.
Let me ask you, there's a negative connotation that surrounds the term follower, but I believe that one has to learn to follow before they can truly understand how to lead.
Exactly.
You became a follower of the 5% nation, and that is what puts you in a position to truly be a leader. Yes? Or
I don't like to say a follower. I think that I adapted the
I guess a
the
follower
cultural
of the teachings.
Right. Yeah, I did. But a lot of people do.
Yeah, 100%.
And everything is a matter of interpretation. We perceive things differently. And based on how we perceive things, that's how we follow through on them. I perceived the teachings of the 5% Nation as something that, as a black man, I needed to know. And as a black man, I needed to represent all the time. Except marrying a white woman. That's the only thing that that veers from that. The interesting part is, and this is, I'm going back to me believing that I had an angel. I had several angels just guiding me. When I was in the penitentiary, when I was inside, I married a white woman, and I was still calling myself Knowledge Born Allah, and everybody knew me. And I had gotten kicked out of Sing Sing, and I went to, where did I go? I went to Attica and Clinton, and then I came back down, and some of the brothers knew that I still held on to the attribute and that I had married a white woman. But a lot of the elder brothers around there, they were like, yo, leave that brother alone. He ain't bothering nobody. He doing what he's supposed to do. But a lot of the other brothers were, the brothers that wanted to get into some mess. They wanted to move on me. I had no idea about this, because I'm coming down and I'm like, yeah, this is me. I don't have to adhere to these things that you guys are talking about. I don't have to adhere to that part because I'm my own man, right? And a lot of them wanted to move on me, but they didn't because the elders, they knew and respected me because I never did anything wrong. I never did it. I never sold any drugs, never did anything that would go outside the rules and regulations of what the 5% was, except that. And the reason why that happened is because I wanted companionship, and I met somebody who was going to give me that, And I spoke to one of the brothers, like I said, I never knew this, but I spoke to one of the brothers like a couple of years ago, and we were talking, and he said, yo, a lot of brothers wanted to move on you. He said, but me and a whole bunch of other brothers, we said, when did you introduce him to your sister? Leave that dude alone because he ain't doing nothing. And I never knew that. So, not knowing things like that and then looking at things in retrospect, you see that, it made me believe that there was a stronger force guiding me through this journey that I had to go through so that I could get out, so that I could do what I'm going to be doing now.
When you reflect on the man you were before prison, what pain do you now recognize that he couldn't yet see within himself?
That he was blind, deaf, and dumb. He didn't know who he was. He was a savage. He was just acting on what felt good, what he wanted.
Dopamine run. Yeah.
And anybody that would commit a crime like that is a savage. You're not thinking about anybody else. You're just thinking about yourself, what you want. Yeah. It's a difference between being a savage and a civilized man. When I came out of the penitentiary, I was a civilized man. I went in as a savage. That's where you put savages at. You put them in the penitentiary. The question is, what are they going to do once they get there?
What was the first experience in prison that forced you to confront the man staring back at you?
The death of my brother.
That said, the intensity of certain emotions, such as rage, depression, even exuberance, whatever. The intensity of such emotions can feel like trying to contain a volcanic eruption almost within the palm of your hands, and it's like by the time you realize it's happening, the mess is already everywhere at once. You know what I mean? Today, when anger, rejection, or any emotional anguish of any kind begins to brew within you, what specific thoughts, practices, or internal conversations help you interrupt the reaction before it takes control?
Thinking about what's important. I think that people who become unhinged, they don't have a lot to lose. The more we acquire in our lives, the more good things that we acquire in our lives, the less we want to lose that. So those things keep a balance on our emotions going out of whack. Because I can get upset at a whole bunch of things, but then I think about who I am and what I have to lose. You're 22 years old, you ain't got nothing to lose. You ain't got nothing. You still living with your mother, or you still struggling. I know I didn't have anything to lose. I had absolutely nothing to lose. And the thing that I really had to lose was my liberty and my place in my family. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Who or what first made you believe you were still worthy of becoming more than the worst thing you'd ever done?
Volunteers that came into the penitentiary, right?
Okay.
Volunteers who came into the penitentiary, they were the only people outside of my family that made me feel like I was worthy of something more than just being a prisoner, just being somebody that's going to be socially pigeonholed into a situation where you weren't worthy of anything. These people came in, they taught us, they provided programs, they didn't ask about my crime. They didn't care what I was there for. That wasn't the reason that they were there. They were there to help me, and it was just that simple. And when I bared witness to that, I understood that what I had done could be worked on by doing exactly what they were doing, giving back. Because we can't, selfishness put me in a situation where I took a life. Selflessness taught me that I could be a better person, and I didn't have to be that person. I didn't have to stay on that. I didn't have to be relegated to that. I didn't have to be boxed into that.
And I feel like that understanding, because one thing I did with my research that you spoke about in your previous interview, there was a smear campaign against you when you were running for common council.
Right, and that's a good example of anger. Mm-hmm. You talk about anger. All right, when I was elected common council of the city of Poughkeepsie, the first meeting that we had in the council's chamber that was being recorded for everybody in the city to see, and we had an audience there. The guy came up and he said that he just read the particulars of my crime and said that I should not be in this position because of that. Now, mind you, this is somebody that doesn't know me. The crime happened 40-something years ago.
It's almost half a century.
It's almost half a century.
Yeah.
The crime, what he's talking about is 40-something years ago, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and I don't know the other 8 common council people because I just got elected. But they're hearing my worst moment, the worst thing that ever happened in my life. He's telecasting it right there in front of everybody, in front of the whole Poughkeepsie. And the only thing that I could do is sit there and listen to him. But when I was sitting there listening to him, I just asked myself, is this true? And I said, yeah, I'm running this in my mind. I said, is this true? I said, yeah. Is there anything that you could do about it? Nope. Only thing I could do about it is do what I'm doing. And I was good with that. And when he left, it wasn't nothing for me to say. I didn't defend myself. I didn't try to say that he was wrong. I got up, I walked out of there, and the next day I came back. The following day, the following session, I came back. I kept coming back because what he said was something that was in my rearview mirror, you know? What happens with people in my situation is two things that happens to them, right? You could box yourself in. You could say, I'm never gonna be anything and I'm just gonna be this fucked up person for the rest of my life because of this that I've done. Or you have people like him that will try to keep you in a box. Yeah. I refuse to be in a box because I know I'm connected to that power, and that power can overcome anything. And if even if it doesn't, it really doesn't matter because I'm not gonna be relegated to the worst moment of my life. That's a decision that I have. Nobody could take that from me. I have that right to become better than my worst moment. I choose to do that. And those people who choose for me not to do that, that's their problem. It ain't my problem.
One's perception of you can be based in reality, but that doesn't mean it has to be your reality.
That's right. We have that power.
Yeah.
And it's just unfortunate that so many men who have committed crimes, they don't understand that. And that's why we have crime at the level that we have, because we as a society, we box people like me in. We box them into a place where we don't allow them to live and advance as individuals because of something that they did. One thing that I tell people is that for me to get out of the penitentiary, the gatekeepers called the Division of Parole, they had to let me out. They had to sanction, right? Yeah. They had to sanction my release. They had to say, this man is ready to be released from prison. This man has served the punitive part of his sentence to be released. Those are the gatekeepers for the state of New York. Anybody else that's under them, they don't have that right to say that. They can't say that I'm ready to leave because it's already been said. And then 12 years after that, the state of New York said that he no longer needs to be on parole. He doesn't need to be supervised. He could be let go and be just a regular Joe like everybody else, although I know that I will never be a regular Joe because society won't allow that. But I will say that the particulars, the gatekeepers of the state of New York has already deemed me ready to be released. And I have proved that because September, I'll be out here for 19 years without any problems. 19 straight years without any problems. I served 24 years in the penitentiary, 12 years on supervised parole, and 19 years out here without any problems. None. So for people to say that I'm not ready, I'm not worthy to do anything, I beg to differ.
I love that. Time changes our relationship with even the hardest moments of our lives. You know, we lose loved ones, we never really get over that shit. We just learn to live with it, right? I imagine taking a life leaves behind a burden that evolves but never completely disappears. That said, nearly 50 years later, what relationship do you have with that memory today?
The relationship that I have with that memory today is doing what I do. Your cousin is a perfect example.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
cousin needed help, I was there to help him. No questions asked. No questions asked right there. That's how I live with what I had done almost a half a century ago. Because I took a life, now it's my responsibility to give back to life. That's what I do. That's how I live with it every day. And every day I could say I'm helping somebody because people call me all the time. All the time. And I never say no because I know how important it is to say yes, to help the next man.
There are people, like we spoke about, who believe there are some things we can never come back from. In the aftermath of everything that's happened, how do you wrestle with whether redemption can ever truly stand alongside a loss that can never be undone?
You know, I don't want to sound cold, but you know, the world we live in is filled with bad, good, and everything else, and neither one could exist without the other.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Neither
Yeah.
one can exist without the other. But when you get to a level of understanding of your place in the world and the world, then it's easier for you to deal with those things, because now you know that you have the ability to do something. Because I could allow what I had done to fester in my life, in my soul, and bring me down to a level of just nothing. Or I could build myself up and become better than that person. That's the only thing that I could say about that. Redemption is an action word. It's not something that you just talk about.
The verb.
Your resume of your works shows that. And I really believe that, you know, on my last day, they might talk about me taking a life, but I'm pretty sure that there'll be a whole lot of people that would testify to the enhancement of life that I gave them. That's what matters.
After everything you've lived through, what truth about humanity do you now know in your bones that you wish the rest of us understood?
That we all are a part of one big thing, and that none of us have a right to judge. We have to understand, you know, because all of us are capable of doing some fucked up shit. One of the things that we do is we like to look at people and judge people and feel better or greater or more superior than the next person. That's just one of the bad things about humans. We love to do that.
The fallacies of mankind, absolutely, man.
Right, but you gotta be bigger than that, because that never helps the whole. The only thing it does is it hurts the whole. When we want to judge the next person and put the next person down or put the next person in a box, then what we do, we stunt whatever they could give to the whole. We don't allow that to happen, and that's stupid. That's foolish, you know? Had these people in the city of Poughkeepsie not gave me an opportunity to be an advocate for the community, then all of the things that I've done in this city for the past 18 years would have never been done. But people gave me a chance. You know?
That said, when you're gone, what do you hope your life ultimately stands for?
But that people bear witness to redemption. Because there's so many men and women out here that have committed crimes, some terrible crimes, and they hide. They hide because they don't want to deal with people trying to put them in a box, people talking about them, people knowing their business, people knowing and judging them for their worst minute, their worst moment. And because of that, the average Joe and Jane, they can't bear witness to redemption. They don't know who these people are. As long as we don't know the people that fall from grace and that can get up, then it doesn't exist. And that's one of the main reasons that I'm transparent and open to have these interviews, because people need to bear witness to redemption, and they just don't.
You can plunge a hole to hell, you can also build a ladder to heaven.
Right.
Listen, Ernest, it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it and I'm going to double down on it, brother. You are a true inspiration. I was not having the best day prior to coming here. Brother, you shifted the energy, man. You are a king. And let me tell you something. What makes us kings and queens isn't what we have. It's the service we provide to others, the amount of service and how consistently we do it. And the fact that you said you deal with the intrusiveness of that thought, of the worst action that you've ever done, by throwing yourself into the service of others and making that your identity, your life. Listen, I look for the 1 in a million in people. Bro, you're that.
Thank you.
Please, anything you have coming up,
Well, one thing that I want to do is I'm a firm believer that as a black man, we need to promote our black people.
Yes,
right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the things that is really big to me is supporting my people in the community. You know, when I first became a Common Council member, there was a real issue with one of the buildings in Poughkeepsie. And this is where I met Mama La, because she was an advocate for that building. And her and I have been friends and supporters ever since. And I remember Mama La when she was just catering. Now she has this big restaurant here, and she's doing great business. And this is what it's about for me. It's about extending myself. It's about helping others. It's about creating a network where we could all help each other, and we understand how important it is for community to develop. So this is Mama La's restaurant. She could tell you about it. If you want, you could just take a little peruse of her place. I don't know what you want to do, but you want to ask her some questions?
All right. So this is Mama Lao's Food for the Soul. We're located at 307 Main Street. We're right next door to Reason and Ruckus, 2 doors down from Asian City. We got the Curio Cabinet right across the street. It's another partner, First Friday, City Liquor and Wine. All of these guys are part of First Friday as well. This is what is called the business district of Poughkeepsie. Yeah, I was born and raised here. I moved to Arizona. I was there for like 15 years. I came back in 2023 and just hit the ground running.
Okay.
So hard work pays off.
Damn right.
All right?
Please.
So this is what it is. Huge community supporter. You know, we got some great Smith House. This young lady, Breezy, she does so many things. She's an amazing educator. This sister lives in Middletown. She ended up in a situation, she needed a space, and we was able to provide that space for her.
Okay. Is that the Grubhub or the DoorDash?
Yep, that's DoorDash.
That shit been going on, man.
These are our youth workers, which is funded through a city program.
Okay.
All right, so right now, Ahem is on break. We have Ibrahim in the background who is running DoorDash right now for us.
Okay.
Who is probably also making Ahim's lunch. You know, yes, had to have that because I have a dream. And that dream is not fulfilled as of yet. So, one other thing is these pictures right here. Like, this is my inspiration for the restaurant, right? For us all just to be together, to commune together. These horns are actually from Ernest. Ernest gave me those horns.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what we're about. Like, that's what our culture is about love, about music, about family.
Yeah. Okay.
So Back here is where all the magic happens. We're getting ready to step into it. Yes, sir. You can come right up front. This is where we cook at. So this is the stove. These are our fryers. We have a separate fryer for fish and one for chicken. Oof. All right, so this is up front. And then back here, we have all of our creators. We have Grace.
How you doing? How you
She's
doing?
over here hooking up the yams for us.
Okay, okay.
We have Kalia and Cameron.
How y'all doing?
So they are over here cutting up the greens, as you see. All of them have their food handlers cards, so they are able to work independently. It's one of the first things that you have to do when you come to work with me is get your food handlers card.
Okay.
All right. And I have these up here so that they know how we stack our food, how it's safe, how temperatures, and how to properly wash your hands.
Okay. All right.
So this is it. This is where all the magic happens back here.
Oh my God. This is incredible, man. To be able to be a
Yes,
part.
thank you.
Man, look at them
It
hands.
is not a easy road for sure, you know, and it's still not. We still are working hard. We're working diligently. You know, we still are involved in the community, very involved in the community. We have a little community center up at Martin where we partner with Charlie or Frank. Shout out to Keita Parks and Cut to, from a different Kente. Shout out to Crooner. I love y'all. That's my family, and that's how we're able to do these things with our youth and to bring them into their adult world. Like, these guys are graduating high school or have already graduated high school.
Oh, these guys,
You know,
yeah.
so yeah. Cam, you go to Dutchess, right? Yep. In the drama part? Do I have that right?
Yeah,
Communications and media arts.
Communicate. Okay.
All right. Grace is going to be a senior this year.
That's what's up.
Yeah, so, and that's it.
I love it.
So that's me in a nutshell. You know, like I said, when Ernest and I first met, we were not friends.
Really?
We were not.
Why is that?
We didn't get along. First of all, your view on politics, right? What's put into you. Politicians are liars. Politicians don't do what they say they're gonna do once they're in office.
Yeah.
Right? And I have to say with Ernest, everything that he has said, he has tried to accomplish.
Wow.
You know, he doesn't get to make those decisions by himself, but he definitely puts it in front of the board. You know, he puts it in front of the council. Everybody has to band together. Like, change happens. They say one person can change the world, and that's true when they have a team of people behind them.
Absolutely.
Right? Martin Luther King didn't do civil rights by himself. He had a team of people that were organized and disciplined and diligent that stood up for what was right. And we don't get a lot of that now.
Absolutely.
You know, people want to go to Facebook and complain on Facebook, but you don't show up in person to our county legislator meetings or to our city council meetings where those words really matter.
Absolutely.
You know, so I still do a lot of talking, mainly from the restaurant now, though, right? So we still do voter registration. I got voter registration forms right now. You know, so I get people, especially our formerly incarcerated, like, they don't know their rights, and that breaks my heart because you have your right. You've already served your time.
Yes.
You served your time, you know, and society doesn't have a right to make you feel like you're less than because of whatever crime it is that you have committed, you know. And that was a question that was asked to me. You're friends with a murderer? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because that crime doesn't define him.
It does not define him. And the things that he has done is greater than the crime that he committed. Not that it's greater than the life that was taken.
Yes.
Like, and that's the thing. You never want that to be misconstrued, right?
100%.
It's not greater than that. But he is living a life of service to try to undo what can't be undone.
Absolutely. That's true royalty.
Yeah.